Okay, so this is the second teaching on teamwork that we're doing in the staff meetings. And the topic I've been given by Marichen is why is teamwork important? So why is teamwork important? And I thought to share around 3 different teams that I've been a part of and just some kind of a lessons learned. And let's just see what God does with that. I think one of the first teams that I've learned such a lot about is to play in an orchestra. So when you play in an orchestra, you are a part of a team of 50 to 70 musicians under the baton of a conductor who sets the tempo and the tone of the piece. But within the orchestra, there are different teams. So there are teams within teams. So I used to be a part of a trombone section. There were 3 trombones and a tuba forming the lower brass section. There's a trumpet section. There is the clarinets and the flutes, the woodwind sections. And then within the string sections, for example, you might have 10 or 12 different violins all playing exactly the same music. And what's amazing is for an orchestra to be successful, within each of these little teams, you need to play as a team. So if the melody goes in a certain way and there's an accent on the 3rd note, then everybody needs to play that accent on the 3rd note and in the same way. So you can't now decide, oh, but I feel like putting the accent on the 1st note, or I feel like going softer when everybody feels to go louder. So that aspect of, especially within the string section, so where literally there's 10 or 12 of you that need to play exactly the same notes in exactly the same way, is something I've learned such a lot from. So you obviously need to master your own instrument. You've got your own artistic ideas, but you need to play and express that within a submitted way, where it's not about me and my ego and me and my good technique and me and my beautiful sound. It's about how can I add my sound to the other 10 violins around me and play in harmony with them so that we sound like one. And when we sound like one, people say, wow, that was amazing. The orchestra sounded great. They don't say Christof sounded great or the 3rd desk of the 2nd violin section sounded great. They say the orchestra sounded great. But it's because each person played their own music in an excellent way within submission to one another. And then, so within submission to the other violins that you form a part of, but then the violins are part of the string family. So the violins and the violas and the cellos and the double basses all need to match in some way. Match the sound, match the balance, match the color, match the timing, match the expression. And so when you do that well, there's a great sound. When you don't do that well, you sound like a bunch of violins that are just hacking away. And it sounds disjointed and it sounds terrible. It falls apart. And so one of the things that I think I've learned so much from orchestra playing is that this thing of it's not about me. To play in team, it's not about me. I may be right, but still then be wrong. And as a young musician, that's something I struggled with. I played in the Cape Philharmonic Orchestra, and there were people that I felt were musically lazy. So they were not diligent about trying to stick to the conductor's beat or trying to stick to a really good tuning. And I'm still quite a black and white kind of guy, but I was more so 20 years ago. There was no gray. So if you're off the beat, you're off the beat, and you better jack up. And I'm going to tell you where this beat is. I'll show you where this beat is. You know, there was a lot of that in me, and I really struggled because then I knew I was right. I know I'm right according to the conductor, and these guys are all playing in a lazy way because they've been sitting in the orchestra for 30 years and they don't care, and I care, but my caring and my showing you what is right is actually not helping the situation. And so there are some times in orchestra then that you have to say, how do I, it's not only like about who's right and who's wrong. It's about how do we collectively raise the bar? And how do I play a role within this team to bring about a better result? So sometimes then, even like with tuning. So tuning is, when you play piano, the tuning is set for you. When you play in an orchestra, the tuning is dynamic. So when it gets hot on stage, the string players, the strings all stretch a little bit, and the string tuning goes down for all the violins, and all the wind instruments, the tuning goes up. So you've got a situation where on stage in the middle of the concert, the tuning starts to drift. Now your choice is, what am I going to do? Now I know this is the right tuning, but the guy next to me is playing slightly high, and the guy next to me is playing slightly low. What do I do? So that has been something that I've really had to grow in, to say, okay, like how do I pull him up and how do I pull the other one down so that together we can sound like one beautiful family of instruments making music together. Same thing with rhythm. But I guess the thing is this: sometimes we may be right, but it's unhelpful if we don't play in team, and you actually get a worse result. It's not actually about me. It's not actually about what I know is right, even when I am 100% right. It's how do I get the best out of the collective for a collective, raise the bar. In this case, it was obviously a music product. To raise the music product so that people will say that was an amazing performance. I think that one of the worst things you can have in a section is somebody who's got a big ego. And Marguerite had that. There was a certain player in the cello section who thought he was the next best thing. And he was really a great player. Hey, but it's terrible to play with somebody like that. Because, so when everybody is playing in a certain way, he just intentionally plays slightly off so that people will think he's a great player, And then in the end, what you have is you not only irritate everybody around you, but you actually, you stand out for all the wrong reasons. And so why is teamwork important? It's not about me. It's about playing within team, and it's about working together. That's the one team that I've learned a lot from. Another team that I've learned a lot from is sports teams. So I played provincial hockey when I was in school for a couple of years, and I played quite a bit of hockey in high school. But within each sports team, you've got a position to fill, right? You are the left back or the right striker or center midfield or goalkeeper. And you are that because of a certain gift and a skill set that you have. So I think what I appreciate about playing in team and why teamwork is important is because some guys are just better at some things. And when we play in team, we allow the person that is good at defense to just defend well. Say, listen, don't you worry about striking goals. We'll handle the goals. But you just stop the goals from coming in, So you get to put people in positions in which they are already strong and in which they add more value to the team. I think one of the worst things is when you play out of position. When you are a striker but you've been called to do a defensive job, or in cricket you're actually a batsman but you need to fill in as a bowler. That's not great. Interesting that the Springboks fielded four scrum halves. That's a risk when you are called to play out of position. Because I think optimally, where we work best is when each of us play within the space of our strength. And then we allow each other to play in the areas of our strength. That's one of the things why I think teamwork is really important. We get to play in our strength. Just the third team, and I'm going to wrap up with this, is church. And what we so often see in the context of church teams is that people burn out, and that people don't play in team to the extent that there is a healthy and a sustainable way to go. So you'll serve and serve and serve, and then suddenly you get offended and you leave the church. Yeah, or serve and serve and serve, and now you're like, no, I can't do Kidsman anymore because I'm on it every weekend, for example. Or media, or worship. Especially we see it with worship guys and with Kidsman people, because these are heavy serving areas. And so that is, I guess, a negative example. What do we need to guard against? Guard against the sense that it all depends on me. Actually, no, we should try and build teamwork in such a way that we can do this for the long run. Can you be a worship leader for 20 years in a church and not burn out? Can you be on Kidsman for 15 years and not burn out? Feel like there's a rhythm in which you are still full while you are serving. So I think the thing around sustainability in team is what I've learned in church is a really key thing. It's no point that we do great things for Jesus for 6 months and then we throw in the towel. Say, please tag me out, We need to find a way that we can do this within team so that we're in this for the long haul. And that's all that I have.
So what do you do when you've got somebody that's lower and somebody
So what do we do when there is a compromise? It's hard. So you need to find out what's
does
the
that happen mid session?
yes, all the time, mid performance.
Then how do you rectify? Is it something that the general audience will hear?
Probably not. Probably not. Fine tune. So I had, for example, in the Cape, there was a tuba player, a great guy, Sean. He was always just slightly sharp on his tuning. And he wouldn't bother to even tune properly. I got so fed up one day, I pulled his, while in an orchestra break, I just pulled his one tuning slide just out a little bit. Because I knew it was on that note, every time he plays on the first valve, on the D there, it is going to be sharp. So I knew on trombone, because we played together, I often play in an octave with him. The tuba and bass trombone often play in octaves, or in unison. You play the same note. So I just know, like, when we hit that note, it's going to be sharp. And so I eventually had enough. You kind of have so you have the conversation, and it's like, Sean, hey, can we work on the tuning? You first try the diplomatic route. Hey guys, I think we're a little bit out in the section here. Maybe can we tune this chord together, like you do we language together? Can we just try? I think, and you kind of say, like, maybe I'm a bit out. Can I just check this chord? But you know it's the guy next to you. But you can't go attacking and say, hey, Sean, you're always sharp, you stupid thing. It doesn't help. It doesn't. No, it doesn't help, because I need to sit next to this guy for the next 5 years. So it's unhelpful. Like, so you try the diplomatic route to resolve things as best you can, and then sometimes you need to just agree to compromise. So again, what's the function within the brass section? The tuba and the bass trombone set the tuning, because you're the lowest instrument. It's like a bass guitar in a band. Like you give the foundation. Now the first trombone thinks and the first trumpet, they think they rule the roost, so they get to set. But really, they should be coming on top of whatever foundation's being laid. You don't just build on top of another foundation. So if your first trombone and your first trumpets play nicely, they'll build on this foundation. If they're full of themselves, or I had a drunk first trombone player in Cape Town, so he was never on tune, then they just do their own thing. So what do? You're stuck, and you're playing somewhere in the middle. You have to try and make him shine and make him sound good, even if he's playing out of tune.
You say he was drunk?
Yeah, I had a drunk guy next to me for 4 years.
So Christof, I think it is important though, I mean, just on that, it was quite funny talking about guys just losing it. If you saw the whales fly off when they didn't kick it out on the halfway, just before the halfway half-time whistle, and the Oaks were trying to run it from the 25, he lost it. He just absolutely lost it. And he's the captain. The Wales guy.
What did he do?
He absolutely lost it. He basically just swore at the Oaks and what, I mean, he was
Was he on the field with it?
yeah. I mean, he totally, which was, obviously, that's what you're referring to, but I mean, he was just so engaged, he was so wild. I mean, but the point, what I was going to say, Christof, I suppose though, and you took things into your own hands, and just adjusted this thing, which is amusing, but I do think, like, I think there are probably times where we have to confront people and say, you know what, you're not, like, go, like, can we talk, you're not like team here.
Yeah.
And this is affecting us, and I think
I think the challenge in the orchestra was that I didn't have that position to be able to have that conversation. I was a junior, so to speak. So what I did in the context of, for example, having a drunk principal, a drunk section leader, we literally had to hold him up on his chair one day in the middle of a performance, like me and the other guy holding him up. He's trying to play his part. He's falling over in St. George's Cathedral like this. Yeah, well, I'd laid disciplinary charges against him 4 times, and management wouldn't do. This is as a 21-year-old against a 40-year-old, 50-year-old. 4 times, and management wouldn't fire him or instill any disciplinary processes because he was part of a Russian mafia. So what do? So eventually I said, well, I need to quit. I'm going to quit my job even if I don't find another job because I cannot stay within this team. And so which year was this? Yeah, I was 23. It was just before we got married. I was ready to leave the Cape Philharmonic Orchestra even if I didn't have another job because I couldn't, with musical integrity, stay within this team. So I applied for a job in Joburg and I applied for the job in Durban. I got the job here and then we moved. Got married and then moved.
It was of God.
Yeah. Yes.
When you say it's a bit hard, like one says that sometimes you need to have that talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you say it was a bit hard, you were my chairman.
Yeah.
So let's say we take you guys on the orchestra.
Yeah.
Put the church as a setting.
Yeah.
A similar situation like that happens here. How do you deal with it here? Is, I mean, it'd be easier for me to say internationally, this is, working team. But it's hard if it's someone much older
Yeah.
and probably in a much, higher position. So what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think when there's conflict in team, the first thing we need to do as believers is to go into the prayer space and say, Lord, what do you want to show me about myself, right? Because chances are I'm a contributor towards whatever situation. So Lord, first things first, what are you doing inside of me, and what do you need me to grow through this? I was actually having this conversation with similar conversation with somebody last night. When we're feeling, especially feeling heavy emotion, I'm really upset by what someone has done, or the first thing is to ask the Father, Lord, so acknowledge the feeling. I feel really upset, or I feel irritated, or I feel let down, or whatever's gone down, and then say, okay, Lord, now what do I want to do with this? What do you want to do? Like, is this something that you want me to grow with? Deal with your anger, Christof, Or is this actually something that I need to have a conversation to somebody about? Or is this something that needs to change in the context of the team? Is this... So take that, acknowledge the emotion. That's what I'd say. Acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling, because emotion is a sign of something that is happening inside of us. Acknowledge that, but take that into the Father and say, Father, first of all, what do you want to do with this? What do I need to change, and what do I need to grow in? I think that the other thing is the challenge is, in a business sense, if you're the boss or whatever, you're not towing the line. If you don't change, you're going to get fired. That's like a fear culture, right? That's a performance and fear culture. We don't operate in that here. This is not like a hiring and firing kind of space. This is listen guys, we're serving the King of Kings. And we do things excellently because of who God is. So I think it's not like we can't go to someone and say, listen, you're going to get fired if you don't pick up your performance. Although if somebody is like really letting a team down, there's probably because there's a character issue. Then we speak to the heart and we ask God to change the heart. So I don't know if that's a good answer. I guess the answer for me is first pray. So take that to the Father, pray and say, Lord, what do you want to show me? Second of all, look then for an opportunity when things are calmed down and when you feel like you've heard from God, to have conversations, but in a graceful way. So we need to have conversations with people that are robust, but at the same time gracious. To say, Josh, I don't feel like you're doing your part in the worship team. Like, can we talk about it? How are you doing? What's going on? What's going on in your life? Like, let's Let's engage with people for the whole person, not just their performance in terms of a specific role within the team. Because I think even if you're young or even if you're old, we are ministers towards one another, right? We are not only here to perform a function. We are here to serve Jesus together, right? And sometimes Mark's got a beautiful picture. I don't know, have you been in Mark's house? Mark's got a beautiful picture of the lions right as you come into his front door. And there's like a pack of lions that's drawing Jesus on like a kind of a chariot. But some of the lions are limping a little bit, and they're kind of on the side, just kind of running along. And other lions are pulling the weight. And sometimes we need to nurse one another. There may be people within this team that are carrying some injuries, that need to recover. And that's part of our responsibility and part of our privilege, not only to say, hey guys, this and this and this needs to get done, but actually, where are you at? How can I pray for you? How can we be team together? Let me take some load. Mel, I can see you taking strain. Let me take some load off you this week. Yes, it's your job, but we're team. You know, I don't know if that helps.
I think the Bible is quite clear as well that we live in love and fear. And I think if you always, if you're talking to anyone, doing anything, if you come and ask, through a space of love, I actually love you. So then love always equalizes things. Doesn't matter your age or whatever. I'm actually coming in love. I think that should be the position of your heart. The Bible does say we see, and often it's around sin. To be honest, it's going to be a sin issue. The Bible's clear that if we see
Similar to the conversation I had about tuning and trying to have your own way, you can have the right point and the right revelation, but in the way you bring it across, it doesn't help. I've had to learn that lesson as a young person in the hard way, because again, I'm quite black and white. When I first joined church leadership teams, this was 2013, 10 years ago, hey, I had to be corrected many times. Not because I had the wrong thing to say, but because of how I said it. And even now, it's something that I have to guard against. Whenever there's a big letter or something or communication I need to send out to the Dutch Reformed Church or something, I first send it to Mark and to Derek and to Marichen and say, guys, this is what I think we need to say. And they'll say, listen, but you can't say that. Or you can't say it in this way. I've had something, I mean, to share,